Scott had been in and out of the media, on and off now for the last 2-3 months. He was set up with 2020 exclusive for an interview. He his movie had been making great turnaround for the public to see him as the Messiah. Year 2020 was election year, and the people of the United States wanted Scott to run as president. He was doing an interview by Walter Davis of 2020 exclusive. Walter Davis. Hi, my name is Walter Davis of 2020 exclusive reporting here. We have a very special guest here tonight named Scott Challi, also known to be the Messiah to the people. So the people are saying, Scott, how are you doing tonight? And I'm glad you can make it to our show. I'm glad to be here and I'm good. I'm doing well. Walter Davis. Scott, it does seem interesting and impressive that you were able to come up with the #1 blockbuster hit movie for the last 2 weeks. Predicted an asteroid strike that hit on Earth that you mentioned in your movie. And you say you have actually presented a pretty decent new world order for the world. This is election year. The people are saying and wanting you to run for president. How do you feel about that? Well, I put it like this. If the people of the United States would like to see me as president to bring in a new world order to the world and for them to reap the benefits, they will have to elect me through open vote on the ballot. So what I'm saying is that if I write my name in Scott L. Challi on the vote, I should get elected. I would be honored and proud to serve as the president of the United States, and I'll make the new world order happen. Walter Davis. That's interesting to hear. So you heard it, world. Write Scott L. Challi's name in on the ballot and he'll run for president. I'm a firm believer in your new world order that you have come up with. Everything I've heard about it so far has been excellent. I'm also a believer in God. In some reason or another, I have this feeling you were sent on this earth to bring freedom and peace. Well, thank you. You're correct. That makes me feel good. Walter Davis. I would like to hear more about your medical program for the world and how it will benefit the people. Sure, no problem. The medical side of the house of cards will be taken care of by the Ace of Hearts, paid out by the Ace of Diamonds. It will be for the people's protection and health care, that no one will be left behind. There will be no such thing as pre-existing conditions to stop you from getting medical assistance. Medical practices will be looked at. The government will come up with a common value for all medical practices performed. For instance, if there was a specific surgery that is $15,000 at one hospital from a doctor, and another doctor performs the same surgery for $10,000, and a third doctor performs it for $20,000, it will be taken an average of $15,000 for the government to pay out for the doctor of said surgery as a common. We will gather all information for surgeries and all types of jobs within the medical field for it to function accordingly. Also, with all procedures that can be performed with the medical field, like x-rays, lab work, along with any type of test a doctor can order up for the patient. This will be in the ACE Services system of the Ace of Hearts department, stored in the database, accessible to all who work for and in the medical field. When you go to either your primary doctor, dental, vision specialist, or hearing specialist, the chip you maintain in either your wrist, hand, or the chip card with picture will be given to you. Of the two choices of your identity to allow access to your files at whichever location by using a small computerized hub for connection to a services database. It will look like a small screen, maybe 6 by 6 inches, to show a display of functions to select on a device of a services hub that will access your medical files. Realize this hub you will either swipe your wrist hand where the chip is located to bring up your info up, or your card with the chip and picture on it, depending on which one of the two options you decide to go with. Every time you log into a hub or device, such as a cell phone, the first thing you will have to do is either have a 4-digit code to allow access if a person wants to use fingerprint or facial recognition access. Access will be accessible on whatever device with a standard allotment time of 10 minutes to stay connected at a time, where after 9 minutes and 30 seconds, a small window will pop up asking if you still want to stay active on the site of a services. You can change the time setting for a longer or shorter length of time to stay on. You see, every device in the world will have a chip within the device programmed to allow encrypted access to the A service site, which will make it secure to all in the system. For example, when you go to the vision specialist and after your identification number has been swiped or scanned and the 4-digit number has been entered, or your fingerprint or a facial recognition, then it will show a list of options to choose from the main page of the menu of your file you hold. You can choose from general, medical, vision, dental, hearing. You then would select vision to be seen at that particular office. All areas of the medical record or any of the A service sites are addressed for each person will be accessible at any time for that individual. All the info kept on each person in the world will be secure for no others to have access unless authorized by the individual or deemed by court. There will be an average that will come up with on all medical procedures and jobs in the medical field across the world. This will be excluding the rest of the world along with the countries of extreme poverty. So America will be the set standard of what we base the world income from. The rate of pay for jobs and procedures to be paid out by the government or Ace of Diamonds Department will have to be established using the United States standard for the economy. Walter Davis. That's good for the policy to go off to an economy that is strong for the world. I'm sorry, you can continue. Realize in the system there is itemized list that goes to 10,000 that will be accessible to the people that work in the medical field of the government. From 1 to 500, the list will be classified as different types of jobs, classes, and pay. Everyone that works for the government or within the world will have to register or have a job data information slip written up prior to employment. You will need the name of the person appointed to the position, the name, position he or she has been awarded, the listing number of the job in the system, along with the facility and location of business where the individual will be working at, an hourly rate of pay granted, and the name of the one that appointed the position. There will be a standard documental order form in the ACE Services database addressing you, the job position authorized of whatever facility you work at. This will have to happen prior to working in that job set up by the appointed human resource personnel or assigned individual from whatever establishment. When you punch into your job at the hub for a services system, it will monitor the hours worked of your classification you hold in the database. The next group of numbers will go from 501 to 2500. These numbers are for any doctor to have access to the itemized list of different procedures that can be performed or ordered up of whatever, like lab tests, vaccines to be administered, x-rays, or any medical treatment within the system that would be needed to treat said patient. The appropriate people in conjunction of each test function that is needed to be performed. This will be in the order as it is ordered up to receive part of the function. Whether annotating hours to perform a task or ordering supplies, whichever established worked under, as a services will automatically pay out all payroll services rendered, which will get paid out within 2 hours past midnight on Saturday night or Sunday morning at 2 a.m. for each end of the work week, which will always be paid out on Sunday. Doctors will be able to perform their practices in a similar way that they are getting patients and income now, but they will have to annotate each patient's appointment within the documentations that are done on the said patient within 1 week from the said appointment. Also, with all medical information on the individual of the appointment will have to be added to the A-Service database for each person that goes to the doctor. Once the person scans his or her chip of their medical, there will automatically be a week-long window that will be accessible from that individual to the hub or linked computer to the A-Service site that's licensed practice for the doctor's secretary will be able to add the findings, etc., lab work, x-rays, exams, medicine prescribed, and so forth for each patient. The window of access to the A-Services site after 7 days will automatically close, and if the facilities in conjunction in performing each step that is ordered up by the doctor, as the tests of x-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, lab work, and any exam or test when ordered up by a doctor, and then the A-Services database will allow in connection the next step in the process to each location in the chain. If they should happen to fail to complete the procedure as directed with failing to comply by not filing the information, tests, or recommended results of the patient being seen by said time, unless the extension time is granted by Ace of Hearts Department, which is requested. If not, then there will be or could be a strike placed against the said doctor's facility or appropriate establishment operating performance record, which is revolving updated performance record of all licensed businesses out there in the world that they are operating. A medical facility will have to deal with the mark against the doctor's performance record, salary mistakes, or any complaints against said facility's practice. Any complaints about a medical practice location will affect all who are employed through the facility and will have to consider the leadership chain of responsibility as a business. You see, a competition in the medical field where all will perform by the rules set by Ace Services, the Ace of Spades leadership branch of Ace of Spades Department, and Ace Services will keep track of each establishment record automatically daily as the complaints come forward to be decided on. This will be done by justifiers of a 5-person team within the local Ace of Spades Department to research and vote on each occurrence. As negative complaints are decided, it will affect all who are associated with the medical institution or facility where the complaints will be kept track of as a record and how they perform as a whole. There will be 6 levels or 6 level tiers of all acting medical facilities in accordance to prevail in our society to be equally balanced. This will be equal for all when complaints or disciplines occur. The first level tier will consist of having 10 or less individuals for said location of medical practice that are authorized to operate by ACE Services. The next tier will have 11 to 25 people for the establishment. Then it would go from 26 to 50. Then it would be 51 to 100 people in conjunction and working for that tier of establishment. Major hospitals will consist of 101 to 500 people working for that establishment. Large hospitals are medical facilities that consist of 501 and up staff workers working for that establishment. All the conjunction of medical workers for the government, medical supplies, medical prescription procedures, performance from doctors, nurses that work for whatever facility will be paid out by the ASA Diamonds branch, but will also be monitored by the ASA Hearts to assure all medical documentations and procedures are being properly administered for the people. And the ASA Spades will be where all people that work a job for whatever facility and business will have to bring in documentation stating to whatever job it is to be assigned. Also given the establishment from around the world the authorization to operate within the public. ACE Services, the ACE Spades Department, will also handle all complaints, suggestions for laws, and verifying leadership branch for each operating business or businesses within the world. All businesses, except for the government, will have to provide a debit account for the ACE Services database system to be able to debit the payroll of their employees. The business's credentials will be recorded in the ACE Services database at the time when they become established. So before anyone can go to the ACE Service office for a job to be entered into the system from the establishment or business, that business has to be in the system first. There will be a percentage paid out of property assessed value of each medical facility. Supplies worked rendered is of one thing, but medical facilities or properties will have assessed real estate value for each medical property within the world to be paid out at 0.0666666 to be carried out 10 places past the decimal point, broken down by weekly to each establishment each year. Whatever the assessed value for each property that is in the computer system to start with, which is handled through the county's assessor's office, will be what will get paid starting on the 1st of January each year. After the assessed value are entered into the ACE Services database, it will always be updated as the world revolves, or it can be updated through the individual's request, like if they have an expansion done or a particular facility revolving every 7 years. So if a hospital praises out at $120 million, they would be paid out $153,846 per week, or $7,999,999 a year. This way the medical facility around the world can keep current and modern as time goes on. It will take 15 years to completely cover the cost of any medical establishment around the world. Now, if there are any expenses that have to come to any establishment, like replacement of sidewalks, streets, and said property. Also, if major medical equipment, electronical construction, plumbing, or any updating to the facility or remodeling will not be paid for by the government. There will be 6 different level tiers set up for the medical field. The number of people worked in each location is the classification that is set up. There will be a perk of what will be offered as for the people to perform their duties in excellence and try to operate accordingly. You see, each level tier associated with the people who work may receive an incentive bonus from ACE Services. You see, each tier will be monitored of the complaints filed for each establishment around the world, and it will work equally the same for all 6 level tiers or layers that I have explained. These tiers will be monitored by ACE Services, Ace of Spades Department, at each county or district throughout the world. Of each tier level, it will show a tier ranking number figured on all the locations around the world. If or of what level achieved in each tier group that they fall within. There are 3 rankings between 1 and 3. And 1 begins the best, or 1 is being the best to achieve. If your location or facility got a 1, you would fall in the top 33% with beating out 2/3 of the competition with a fewer number of strikes or complaints against its location. All the facilities or medical locations around the world will be in a tier bracket that will show where they're divided up by, and also how good they're performed. This will show each medical practice how well they're performing across the world, and it'll be accessible to all in the world to be able to see each complaint against each said location. For instance, if you received a 1 in your tier group, you will receive 20% more of your wages for procedures performed. If you score a 2, you will get an extra 10% of your wages for procedures performed. And if you score a 3, or the 3 would be of standard pay that is allotted by the job classification in the ACE Services system. So it'll be the normal price of wages. Everyone will start out at level 1 when the New World Order is activated. Let me put it into perspective for you. For you can have an idea what to expect as an income for a registered nurse, or for instance, to qualify for a registered nurse position, in order to get paid for that job qualification, you will have to have a 4-year degree to be able to pass, or to be able to pass a test of what's required for the job, and that will be applied to all positions within the government. Some may require schooling, and others may be a simple test, questions in relating to the position of the field. Let's say in the time before the New World is to be set up, that the registered nurse on average around the United States makes $60,000 a year, working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 hours a year. This will come out to 2,000 hours for the year, and will be equivalent to $30 an hour. When the New World Order is in effect, the same registered nurse will only have to work 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, to maintain a living. The same nurse from before was making $60,000, working 2,000 hours, and now will start out making $45,000, working 1,500 hours. but still making $30 an hour. If overtime is worked, it would be of an hourly rate that would be of a higher rate of pay and will be entitled to all in the world. You may ask, why only 50 weeks in a year for work? Because 2 weeks will be granted off, or 10 working days. Also, all whom are employed around the world can put in a request the day prior to taking off for the day, or up to 10 unpaid personal days days a year if they want, with no refraction or effect to them for doing so. Also, people of the world, when their accepted form is documented for whatever job that they will hold, and will have to annotate in the ACE Services database. At the time when you are at the ACE Services office, you will have to choose a listing of all the holidays in the world, where you can pick 10 holidays from a list to be paid out as a 6-hour work day of your current rate of pay, and will honor you time off from work for each occasion. Vacation time off from work will be allowed for all who work for the government equally the same, starting with 10 paid vacation days a year. When you reach 10 years in any associated job within the government of ACE Services, then you will be allotted 15 paid days off a year, or you can cash them in at any time and work the difference. At 15 years of service, you will receive 20 days. Then at 20 years, 25 days are given, and at 25 years, you'll receive 30 days paid off work. No one working for the government of ACE Services will be authorized to receive more than 30 vacation days a year. As for part-time workers for the ACE Services government locations throughout the world, will receive 10 days a year paid holidays of choice, even if they work for a few hours, if they're considered an employee in the ACE Service database by the location of operation. No personal days will be awarded, and no vacation days will be awarded to part-time workers. There is an exception if any part-time worker reaches 1,500 hours in a time frame of a year while employed through any government location. They will get the days of vacation paid that would be allotted for a full-time person. Also, by years of seniority and what is entitled to tier ranking for the government facility, will be authorized to receive the earned amount of pay for vacation days, which are calculated by the ACE Service system and will be paid out to any worker that achieves 1,500 hours. Part-time workers will not receive any vacation time. For instance, part-time worker has 2 different job positions within the ACE Services database system. They will be paid accordingly for what's entitled for each job worked through ACE Services, with the adjusted rate per hour of whatever job they're logged into. 2 or more positions held for the employment will be known as a regular full-time job, as long as they maintain a 25-hour work week between the 2 jobs on average. If it is a different facility, pay will be adjusted to whatever you're entitled to make at that facility or job performance as well. You will not be required to work more than 40 years. If you choose to work longer, your retirement pension of your wages will be calculated in the pension you receive at the age of 58. You are able to see a standard count You're able to see a standard calendar from the menu selection for each government establishment or licensed business authorized to operate in the world. This will be used for setting up, maintaining record of all who have worked for each establishment. A work roster schedule program will be in the ACE Service database for all government facilities and licensed businesses that authorize to operate, where any human resource personnel assigned to the person or persons assigned from each leadership chain or licensed business to operate. We'll have a list of people. We'll have a list of people that work for whatever establishment with easy accessibility to set the scheduling up. Just by clicking on a list of employees assigned to each location of business, department, or government facility within the ACE Service site of any establishment while being logged in anywhere in the world. It will separate each department within the business or establishment of employees will be broken down and easily accessible with just a touch of a finger or a click of a computer mouse to whomever you want to add to the schedule in any business or government facility. Once the calendar option is selected from the login screen when assessing your employment login to bring up the work information on the authorized device to allow anyone who is employed to the world. This will give you access to contact anyone in the world. The calendar screen can be accessed several different ways. For instance, through your personal files, which will be displayed in an app set up for all in the world to use to keep track of appointments and commitments you would like to list. Then it will combine your work schedule together as one in your personal file to view and is contained under the ACE Services system. There will be a master chip you carry on you to allow accessibility to your phone or computer by scanning device built in. When you scan your chip, it becomes accessible to each person, stored in the information that the government will hold on each person to have access to. The time the window will stay accessible is 10 minutes at a time. Then the last 30 seconds, a small window will pop up that will ask you if you're still active. And if you choose not to select the OK icon, it will close you out of your secure files. It will show an OK tab on the screen where all you have to do is select it to stay active for another 10 minutes. And when you're done from within the system, all everyone should do is click on the Done button that is located on the screen. In the setting display on top of the right of the screen, you will be able to adjust your personal device hooked to the system to allow more time. Or you can turn off the safeguard protection for the security of your files. This is for everyone to have accessibility to maintain files on themselves and for all of the government.